When I research for a new video, I always end up learning something unexpected. That's half the fun. This time I discovered that clavis is Latin for key. It doesn't really change anything, but now you know and I know. Now Asus clearly hopes its own key, the ROG Clavis, will unlock better audio for gamers. So which sonic doors does this tiny little external digital to analog converter actually open? Let's find out. New, the Asus ROG Clavis is about 65 euros, but the one that I have right here is second hand and thus a bit cheaper, but still too expensive at 35 euros. It didn't come with the box, so I can't show you the packaging or what it was included as accessories. But the Clavis itself is here, and that is what really matters. Now this tiny USB digital to analog converter is the star of the show. And inside beats the ESS 9281 with a Quad DAC, AI noise cancellation and MQA. Sounds cool, doesn't it? But is it really cool? Now, if you've watched any of my previous digital to analog converters dissections, you'll know that ESS enjoys a rock solid reputation. The 9281 continues that tradition. Officially it's a high performance USB codec with headphone amp, MQA, ADC, PLL, jack detect, mic input and AD mixing, boasting a 130 decibels of signal to noise ratio. In my opinion, codec is a better terminology, but it sounds too close to the uninspiring onboard Realtek codecs. So that's why they kept on calling it a digital to analog converter. The term Quad DAC is used a lot in the marketing and it sounds impressive, like you're getting 4 digital to analog converters crammed into one chip. And technically they are right. In the 9281's case, it has 4 digital to analog converter channels per stereo output, so 2 per channel. The idea behind this is to reduce noise and distortion by averaging it out to one signal. It's a method often used in high-endish audio gear. But does it sound 4 times better? No, absolutely not. But it does help with a cleaner output, especially when you're using sensitive headphones. Just don't let the word quad trick you into thinking that you're plugging it into some kind of 4-engine audio rocket. What does make the 9281 a bit more high performancy is ESS's Hyperstream architecture. Also sounds impressive, right? Okay, here's the idea. Older digital to analog converter often used single bit modulation, which is easy to implement, but it can lead to more background noise and distortion. Now Hyperstream uses multi-bit sigma delta modulation with oversampling and noise shaping to push unwanted noise out of the audible range, keeping your audio clean and precise. Then there's the MQA support. Now MQA is a high-res streaming format that's been stirring up debates for many years. It promises studio quality in smaller files. But critics say it's more about licensing and branding than real audio benefits. Personally, I've tested MQA many times and I never really heard a real difference. So to me it also feels more like a money grab than a game changer. And if your source isn't MQA, it won't do anything. It won't improve your audio, no matter what other YouTube channels might claim. Jack detect. This was my first boot panic. The jack detect is also something I want to mention here, because when I plugged in the Clavis, it wasn't detected. I started to get annoyed, a bit panicky, because the seller sent me a faulty product. This wasn't the case. A quick search on Google revealed that the headphone or headset needs to be plugged in order to be detected. Another highlight that improves the accuracy of your audio is the time domain jitter eliminator. A lot of words. Now these are fancy names for cleaning up tiny timing errors in the digital signal or the USB signal. Now most digital to analog converters use phase locked loop or PLL to do this, but as it says in the datasheet, the ESS adds extra tech on that improves it even more. The result? Smoother and more accurate audio. One last thing that I'd like to mention is the AD mixing. Thanks to the integrated ADCs, this chip can take analog signals, like from your microphone or line in, and overlay them on top of the digital audio stream in real time. ESS calls this AD mixing, and it's ideal for sidetone, which is what we gamers want. Otherwise we keep on shouting even more because we can't hear ourselves. And all that without the need for extra hardware. It's a bit handy, right? Okay, let's talk about AI, because of course the Clavis claims to have it. Asus promotes the Clavis as featuring AI noise cancellation. Sounds impressive, right? Like there's some futuristic chip inside that filters out barking dogs, keyboard clicks and crying babies. Except there isn't. There is no AI chip in this thing, even though the promotional photos do suggest this. The noise cancellation is entirely handled by your system's CPU. And only if you install Armoury Crate. No software, no AI. The digital to analog converter itself does none of this so-called AI processing. If you check Asus's product page closely, it even states that there is no active noise cancellation. So yeah, this AI is more of a marketing checkbox than an actual feature. It's just software noise filtering with a fancy name. It might help a little bit in voice calls or streams, but don't expect NVIDIA broadcast levels of performance. If they just called it software noise reduction, no one would care. But slap on the AI label and suddenly it sounds cutting edge, when really it's just a glorified equalizer filter renamed by a hopeful marketing team. The exterior of the Clavis is solid aluminium. It has some RGB that can be controlled with the Asus Armoury Crate software, which I'll go into detail later. There's also a tiny little switch on the side labeled Mobile and PC/NB. In mobile mode it supports phones and consoles like the Xbox or PlayStation. In PC notebook, never knew what the MB was. In notebook mode it unlocks the full resolution of the ESS digital to analog converter, up to 32 bits and 384 kHz. Now the reason for this switch isn't really Asus's fault, but rather the console makers. As I mentioned in my previous video about the excellent Fossey K7, consoles only support USB audio class 1 or UAC1, which limits resolution. PCs on the other hand supports UAC 2 and even 3, so you can get the full audio experience. Now with this switch you can easily toggle between the two and get the best result depending on the source. Installing Armoury Crate is it's not great. It's slow, requires multiple reboots, asks several times for admin rights, and after an installation file seconds old it still needs to update itself. What's the point of downloading the file? In my case the whole thing took about 10 minutes. And here's the kicker, the Clavis works fine without it. Sure, you miss out on some features like AI, but let's be honest, you'll probably only use one of them or two of them maybe. Anyway. Alright, that's all very interesting, but let's take a look at some actual numbers. I ran the Clavis through Rightmark Audio Analyzer and here's what I got. The frequency response. That's very good, flat and clean, just what you might expect on an ESS digital to analog converter. The noise level, this is just average, not that silent, and you might hear a hiss with sensitive headphones. The dynamic range, also average. Desktop DACs usually hit above 90 decibels, so this isn't that good. Total harmonic distortion is 0.16%, which is good, nothing to worry about. The total harmonic distortion plus noise, again average. The noise starts to show here. And then the intermodular distortion plus noise, and this one is actually, well, okay. It handles complex signals decently. The stereo crosstalk, also average. There is some slight bleeding between the channels, but still pretty good. The intermodular distortion at 10 kHz is rated at good. So overall it's a mixed bag. Clean frequency response and low distortion are great, but the average dynamic range and the noise floor mean it won't blow you away. It's good enough for gaming, casual listening and some voice work, and definitely a step up from your onboard audio. But if you're hoping for a high-end sound package into a little dongle, keep your expectations in check. And so how does it actually sound? Well, it's okay. It's not bad. It's not amazing. The overall sound feels a bit flat and closed in, like there's a layer between you and the music. Quiet parts don't feel especially quiet, and the louder parts lack impact or oomph. The stereo image is fine, but not pinpoint sharp. Everything feels a bit constrained, like you're listening through a window rather than being in the actual room. If you're coming from motherboard audio, the onboard codec, it's a clear upgrade. But if you've used a decent digital to analog converter or even a good dongle before, you'll notice what's missing pretty quickly. In short, it works, it's convenient, but audio technically, it doesn't really shine. And now for my conclusion. What do we make of the Asus Republic of Gamers Clavis? It's a USB-C audio dongle that tries really hard to be more than just a dongle. Like a true hi-fi addition to your setup. And to be fair, the ESS 9281 is very solid. It has nice features like AD mixing, hyperstream and high-res playback that looks good on paper. But the Clavis leans heavily on buzzwords, Quad DAC, AI, MQA, without fully delivering out on the promise. Audio quality is fine but not amazing, and Armoury Crate, while needed for some of those features, just makes the experience more annoying than helpful. At €65 it feels overpriced for the actual audio performance. There are better options out there if you care about pure sound. That said, if you already have a lot of Republic of Gamers gear and you like to have everything in the same ecosystem, the Armoury Crate, RGB, the whole works, then the Clavis might be a nice addition. Just don't expect it to transform your audio world. Clavis means key, but in this case it's more like a house key than a key to a hidden vault of sonic perfection. Functional, reliable, but it's not exactly thrilling. And that's it for me for today. See you in the next one. See you then. Bye bye!